Hello, Yes But Why listeners. This is your host, Amy Jordan. Welcome to episode 223 with guest Erin Souza. But first, let's talk about our sponsor. This episode of Yes But Why podcast is sponsored by Audible. You can get your free audiobook download and your 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/yesbutwhy. Our guest this week, Erin Souza, started her comedy career doing stand-up, so let's see what Audible has on the subject. Oh, here's a fun one with just clips of stand-up. Here's a Lewis Black comedy special, and about 100 how-to manuals for stand-up comedy. Get listening to these guys and report back. Audible is available for your iPhone, Android, or Kindle. Download your free audiobook today at audibletrial.com/yesbutwhy. This episode of Yes But Why is also sponsored by podcastcadet.com. Swing on by podcastcadet.com to get help for all your podcasting needs. From writing to producing to hosting, Podcast Cadet can help you improve your podcast. Go to podcastcadet.com and put in offer code YBY20 to get 20% off your first consultation. This week on Yes But Why, listen in to my laid-back interview with San Francisco improviser Erin Souza. We chat about her journey through stand-up and Pride Pageants to improv comedy. Support Erin by checking out The Professionals, her improv comedy troupe, who perform regularly on the Leela SF Improv virtual stage. I now present to you Yes But Why, episode 223. From zombie flicks to Zoom improv, Erin Souza devises worlds for you to enjoy. I'm Amy Jordan, and this is Yes But Why podcast. Yeah. What was the first theater or performance thing that you did, whether in school or not, where you really felt like this was the thing? Like you did the theater and you were like, yeah, I'm going to do this more.
Oh, wow. Let's see. Probably, I would have to say like maybe fifth grade. And we did some adaptation of like The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, where people made like these paper mache masks of the Peanuts characters' heads to wear, and somehow I ended up playing Snoopy, who didn't have a mask. I think because the actor who, the student who was supposed to play Snoopy was sick or something happened to him that day. So I borrowed his costume, which was like some replica of a flight helmet for when, Snoopy was doing his flying ace, and got to narrate that while chasing some other character dressed as the Red Baron around the cafeteria.
Fun.
Yeah.
So you dug that? You were like, yeah, this is it for me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then it was kind of, I guess like junior high school and high school, like, I had friends and I, like, we often listened to old radio, like comedy or radio theater broadcasts on this one station here in San Francisco that used to have like a comedy and vintage radio night on it. And it's like one of us, got a like cassette recorder for his birthday, and we decided, let's do our own little, do our kind of radio type plays or whatever. And so we had a lot of fun playing around with, music and sound effects albums and stuff.
Oh, that's fun. God, I love the old sound effects albums. I have so many, and every version of them records and then tapes and then CDs. So many sound
Mm-hmm.
effects. I love it. Oh, that's
Yeah.
so fun. How ingenious of you and your friends to like create your own show. I thought you were going to
Yeah.
be like, and then the school was like, let's do a radio play. But like, no, it's you and your like pals just making it on your own. That's
Right. And
awesome.
then it was like, kind of gravitated to high school and summer school, drama classes, and did some, we were writing some of our own sketches to perform in some of those.
Oh yeah? They let you write your
Yeah.
own stuff? Like in summer camp or like in school?
It was more in summer. It was more in summer school.
Oh, right on, yeah.
I think we all like we were all like big fans of the Marx Brothers, so we kind of wrote our own Marx Brothers sketches
Yes. So
in their style, and often just kind of rehashing some of their classic bits from their films.
now in this at this point are you performing just for your other friends or are you like doing stuff for your parents or whatnot?
It was mainly, I guess, for our classmates in summer school, and just for ourselves, like the radio things.
Yeah.
And then somebody in our group got a movie camera and was starting to make films, and it's like, oh yeah, that's what we have to do next. And so we got into doing that. And
Now, is this the same group of people that you're like hanging out with from like junior high into high school and you guys are all like creating
hmm
together?
yeah, yeah,
That's great. That
yeah.
sounds so fun. I really appreciate that. Like most of my stuff growing up was, sort of organized by school. So I love this idea that like sort of like just ad hoc teens being like, "What you guys want to make a movie?" Like, that
Right,
sounds so
yeah. We were
fun.
we were the kids in the neighborhood who would, like, decorate the garage and convert it into a haunted house for Halloween, and things like that.
That's
So
so fun. I love
yeah.
that. What were your movies about? We make horror movies or something?
Uh we made a couple horror movies. I remember, like, I think our senior year, we did a zombie film and recruited everybody in our drama class to act in it. And one of our classmates had connections with the local mall, and so we were able to get into the mall like after hours to film in there.
Yes, filming in the mall for your zombie film. That's just like pinnacle. Oh,
Right, right. And I think
man.
we used, like, the science lab at school
Oh,
for another
yeah.
scene. And
Man, you guys are
so
on point locations. Phew.
yeah. And then I was one who kind of focused more like at wanting to do comedies.
Yeah.
And so, like, I was very influenced by like shows like the Monkees reruns, and the Beatles films, Help and Hard Day's Night.
hmm
We kind of did films in that vein where it's like me and my buddies are, kind of portraying characterized versions of ourselves, living in a goofy house where weird stuff happens.
Like you do.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun. I really like
Yeah.
that.
I mean, this was back in the 70s,
Yeah.
late 70s, early 80s. So we didn't really have, like, video equipment was not readily available. It was still pretty expensive. So,
Yeah.
the we were shooting, I think paying, like, I forget how much for a cartridge of film that only lasted, like, 3 minutes, and then you'd have to pay to get it processed and wait 3 days to pick it up at the drugstore. And then you'd have to, you know, we actually had to, literally cut, and splice the pieces of film together to make
How did you figure that
the
out? Like, who's telling you how to do this? How do you know how to do these things?
one of my friends, did have a like editing and splicing equipment, and Other times we just, it's kind of like, going to the library and kind of looking up. It's like, oh, that's what you do. That's how that gets into that.
Wow. That's like, it's just the sheer, like the fact that you guys like wanted to make it happen so much and you did. It's just so intense. Like
Yeah.
that effort that you put into it. That's so
Hmm.
great. You don't
Yeah.
happen to have any of these films like to
I think I
watch, do
do
you?
have like a VHS copy of a bunch of our I think of all of those films somewhere. I
Oh,
think we
so
at one
awesome.
point one of us decided to just kind of somebody got a hold of a video camera and just kind of pointed it at the screen while running the projector, and so it's not necessarily the best quality.
No, no. So did
Yeah.
you and your friends from high school continue to do movies and stuff like that after high school?
Uh for a little bit, then we kind of, found other interests. I mean, I originally wanted to, like, after high school, kind of went to the local junior college and wanted to get into their, like, radio and television production classes, but ended up getting on by way of a radio theater class that I took, ended up getting recruited to our college, forensics competitive speech team and
Oh.
getting into that world. And that's where I first kind of learned about, doing after dinner speaking, which was kind of stand-up comedy, but with a speech structure to it.
Hmm.
And so then I was, focusing a little more on writing and still trying to figure out what I want to do. And
What are those kinds of like college speech programs gearing you towards? What are they like? Are they trying to get you to like I appreciate it's called after dinner speaking. Like I've never heard
mhm,
that. I love it.
yeah,
Um, I feel like that should be the name of a show. But like, but like, so it sort of makes sense where it's like this is when we can talk off the cuff.
right,
But like, who's the audience? Like when you're doing those kinds of speeches, like
right,
what's the effort? You know what I mean? Like, who are you talking to? Why are you? What's
right.
the
A lot of
competitive
it is,
nature? I just never did that kind of stuff when I was in
yeah,
college or high school.
right. You're in these competitions with people from other parts of the state or from other states, and there's different styles of speaking that you can compete in, and there were some acting events and like a staged reading theater that you could do, and so it was kind of this little world unto itself.
Hmm.
I kind of crossed paths with a lot of people who kind of went on to some bigger and better things. And
What kind of bigger and better things like writing for political campaigns and like
some, like, I
that's
mean,
always
like,
what
I
I
think
imagine.
one of our, like, one person I know, he still does a lot of like solo theater here in the Bay Area,
Hmm.
and he also, he did some feature film work with like Robert Townsend,
So the
and
people that are coming out of this program, it's mostly theatrical. I always imagined that the people that did the speech stuff became
uh,
like lawyers and like senators and stuff.
right.
You know what I
There
mean?
were there were programs that were like, we didn't have many people who actually focused on that kind of debate end of things, like
Yeah.
preparation for being an attorney or whatever.
Right.
We were kind of more on the theatrical,
Oh, cool. Cool.
artsy end, and so
Oh, right on. Oh, when you had said like I got involved in that world, I thought you meant like it was a drastically different world, which maybe I suppose live performance versus making films is drastically different.
yeah.
Um, After you did this speech stuff, did you do any theater like on stage or stand up?
I did a little bit of theater, in college. I think maybe one or two plays, but most of my time there in college was involved with the speech team. and we would do either be going to tournaments and sometimes preparing for like a production that an extended readers theater production that we would open to the general public and present. It would usually be with a theme and people presenting different pieces related to that theme.
So what did this kind of performance opportunity lead to next for you?
Next, I decided to see if I could get into a film program at a university. So I went to San Diego State.
Oh.
And that was where kind of things, things in my personal life started to go south, and I just really wasn't ready to be away from home yet. And Southern California feels a little different than Northern California. So,
you grew up in San Francisco, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I actually grew up in the East Bay across from San Francisco.
Right on.
Yeah. So, and I think that was around the time I had my first girlfriend who, I was up here in the Bay Area and I was down there. And so that fell apart and I was very upset over that. So, and I just, had a lot of other, mental, emotional health issues that I needed to address.
Yeah, plus college just isn't for everybody. You know what I mean? It's not the journey that you have to take. Clearly you had another path,
Mm-hmm.
And San Francisco being your home, a lot of times getting yourself involved in a community is a lot easier when you feel comfortable. So
yes, yeah.
Yeah. So did you come back then?
Yeah, I did come back, and it took me a while to kind of find new community. And during that time I was taking classes, and I went back to San Francisco State and did a couple little films for classes there. And at the time they weren't really geared for an extensive film production core. They only took about maybe 20 people into the production wing of the film department, and it was very competitive. So I decided, to focus more on writing, which was a strength of mine anyway. So I went to their screenwriting program, and that's what I ended up getting my degree in.
Ooh, fun. Now, was that did that end up being fun? I know I say ooh, fun, but maybe it wasn't. Was it all that you wanted it to be and more, or were you just taking it because you didn't want to compete with the other people who were a little too cutthroat?
I think it was the latter. I'm not always the most driven, ambitious person, out there in the world. So,
though sometimes I'm like, you guys fight. I'm gonna get some work done. You know what I mean? There's so much. I have certainly avoided a lot of competitive environments myself in life. I usually try to, well, let's be honest, use comedy to get out of it, right? If somebody tries to swindle me into getting competitive with them in a way that it's if we fight about this, this is not going to make our situation better. If I'm in a scenario where being competitive with someone is actually going to improve our performance, okay, I'll do it. But if it's just to be you know what, I'm better than you, I'm not interested, right?
Yeah,
I don't care.
If you can have a kind of respectful rivalry as it is,
right?
It's wow, you did that. Oh, I got to come up with something equally as impressive, and
right.
That's
a good thing.
You're forcing one another to to up the bar each time,
as opposed to you're a jerk. You can get stuck in those kinds of things.
Right. And I just, that was the part that I kind of felt a little intimidated by, and that whole the whole hustling and networking.
Yeah.
And all this time I'm also just kind of supporting myself and working.
Oh, yeah? Yeah.
So, yeah.
Right
So,
on. Well, that's good.
getting some, making sure I have something that can pay rent and things like that.
Sure. Healthy life experience, I would say.
Yes, yes.
Because my next question was going to be like, so what happened when real life happened? You get out of
Right.
college and then
Yeah.
what really happens?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like a continuation. It's like, okay, after graduation, I'm still working, the same job that I was, prior to graduation, with the, and I'm still with that same company, 30 years later.
Oh, that must be a good job.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a union job, and it has good benefits and security. So it's like, yeah, I don't think I'm, going to leave this. And it's one of those things that, once it's 5 o'clock, you go, you can leave it and focus on the things in your life that you enjoy that some of that money is paying for.
Yeah, yeah. Well, plus also like, from the point of view of people who are doing, trying to do, theater or whatnot, a lot of times, it's in the evening, and
Hmm.
then you might as well have a job, right? And then
Right.
also like, gotta have a job. So it's nice that you found a spot where you could like really work and have a nice time, or at least, good enough time to be like, hey, all right, pays the bills, does the work. I feel like I'm
Right.
contributing a little bit to the world, and I get to do all the cool things I want to do.
Right.
That's the real toss up of life, right?
Hmm.
Like, as long as we can balance those two things. I got to do all the responsible stuff. Okay, I'm an adult.
Yeah.
But I also get to have this fun time stuff. So
Right.
it is kind of awesome that you've had the same job. I don't know that anybody's had the same job for
Yeah.
30 years in a
It's
long
well,
time.
it's I've
That's
I've
admirable.
I've been had different jobs within the same company, so it's
Still, it's
you know
cool.
in
I mean, it really just
health
speaks well to that
healthcare you
company.
can
Yeah.
shift around a lot. So
Oh, even better. Look at you saving lives and doing comedy. I love it. So
right,
you're
right.
you're working your job, you're trying to do how are you getting involved in performance and writing and stuff once you're out in the world? You're an adult now. You're like in your 20s. What's happening? What's the
Yeah.
scene like?
Well, let's see. I'm in my late 20s.
Sure,
I
getting out of college.
kind of took a bit of a circuitous route through college.
Sure.
Uh, then I kind of was. There was a slight detour in a way where I was kind of exploring my gender identity issues. I'm transgendered.
Oh, okay.
Shortly after, graduating college, that I finally got the nerve to like get in touch with, other, transgendered people and get into like transgender support groups and stuff and clubs. And, you know, for a while, like this one club, we had like a pageant to see who would represent our club in the Pride parade each year. And so I got into doing that, and I kind of returned to stand up through that in a way, because I was doing, for the talent portion of the pageant. Yet, most people were just, would come out and lip sync to Cher or some, Celine Dion or somebody. And it's like,
Sure.
oh no, I'm going to do something. I'm going to do something different. I'm going to, actually do something live. and
So
and
did you like write your own sets and stuff and do it?
hmm
Just
yeah.
did you like rehearse it at open mics and stuff, or were you like, I'm
No,
doing it
no,
at
I
the
didn't. I
audition?
didn't. I wasn't ready to go to open mics and clubs yet. I had done a little bit of that in college,
Right
but
on.
that was as my former male persona. And,
Oh, right on.
this was
Yeah. So like you're getting into the new scene
hmm
with your Pride crowd, and you're getting ready for the pageant. How did it go? Did you get it?
uh I did the pageant like 4 years,
Nice.
and like would make like made finalist once, and then a couple times just didn't advance beyond the preliminary round. And my last year, I was first runner up,
Nice.
and then it's like about halfway through the year, the girl who won, who had already like I think had the surgery and everything, and had found a man and was kind of wanting to just disappear into the woodwork, as they say. And so she decided to drop the title and just go away and be wifey someplace where nobody would know her past.
Sure.
So
Sure.
I kind of inherited the title, and for the second half of the year. Yeah, so it was fun.
When I was in New York, New York City, they did a pageant called the Mr. Lower East Side pageant, and the winner had to quote unquote represent the Lower East Side for a full year. And if anything happened, like to that person, there was always the runner up, and the runner up was called Mr. Tribeca, and deep New York joke, and but the joke that everyone will get is that the runner-up was given a hat that they had to wear as often as they could that looked like a vagina. Like it was like a hat, so like the face, it was like he was being born out of it. So that I remember one year there was one guy, he wore it every time he came to the club. We were like, we get the joke, it's fine, you don't have to do it. He was like, we were like, too much. But he was ready to step in at any moment. So I get that scene.
Yeah.
Wanting to get the title.
Mm-hmm.
What did you do with your power? Did you change anything? Was anything amazingly different because of your leadership?
Not really. It's just you get to go to different events in the community and wear a tiara.
Nice. Ooh, I need to find opportunities to wear tiaras in my life. Yes. To be honest, I could be wearing one right now. Who knows? So, at this point, you're doing a little bit of stand-up. Did you continue doing stand-up in your comedy journey, or have you?
I did. I started to venture out and, started, looking for like, queer-friendly comedy venues, and found a few here in the city, and eventually got on and performed at them.
How'd that go?
It went okay.
Doesn't sound like it was your favorite thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, again, it was one of those, I liked writing the material, I liked performing it, it's the whole, trying to get out there every night and network and get stage time that I wasn't too fond of.
Yeah, stand-up's not for introverts. You really have to get out there and talk to everybody and be everybody's best friend or enemy, whatever path you want to choose in your story.
Yeah.
Yeah, that can be tough. Tough. How were you, but you were still sort of going out in the scene and like hanging out with people. You just didn't want to it was just too much effort to be a performer in that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like you can't. It's hard to stay up till 2 a.m. waiting to getting on some stage at some open mic. To when you have to be at work at 7 or 8 the next morning.
Yeah, it's not great.
Yeah.
It can be tough. Plus, the number one thing that I hear from improvisers about stand-up when they tried it is that, stand-up, you're alone.
Yes.
You're just sort of good luck by yourself up there. Okay, let's see how this goes. As opposed to with improv where not only do you have a team that's going to have your back because they're your team, it's legitimately one of the rules. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's not even kind of, it's number one, yes, and number two, have each other's back. What are you doing? Like that, 101
Right.
kind of stuff, to the point where whenever I teach 101, like I teach improv 101, and whenever I'm teaching it, I'm like, you guys can relax because you're here for each other. And also,
Right.
hey, be here for each other, okay? So it's like both a call to action, and also this sort of like calming, like, don't worry, you're all right now. We've got you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you
Yeah.
get to
I,
improv? How did you find that?
uh, yeah, I was looking for something to do to try to connect with people beyond, you know, just, you know, beyond just the, the transgender support club, which I did get busy with as an officer and a writer for its newsletter. And so there were some creative outlets in that. And at club events, there was some entertainment that I got to be a participant in. So, you find your outlets where you can. And at some point, I decided to try, I was, I don't remember if I'd done any improv in college. I remember, seeing it, and so it kind of looks like fun. And so, I just was, I guess, looking through one of the, like alternative papers, here at the time. This was before the internet was so widely prevalent. And it's like, oh, this looks like fun. So I, went to a theater games demonstration and tried it, and then signed up for an introductory course, and, just really liked it, and just found that, okay, there's more to it than just kind of getting laughs and, jokes the way it is in stand up. You can actually, do some interesting things with structure and themes and storytelling, which you don't get to do in so much in stand up, or at least, a stand up audience isn't gonna necessarily be very patient when you're trying to, build something like that. Whereas I think improv audiences are more, it's a very different vibe.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like stand-up audiences want them to fail, and improv audiences want them to succeed.
Yeah. 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 It seems like it's very zero sum in stand up.
Yeah. It's like, do you like a punch in the face? This is for you.
Yeah.
You're like, what? But then there's a few people who are like, yeah, let's do it. Oh, man. Yeah, it's a very different crowd for sure. I'm glad you were able to find improv. Now, you said you went to a theater games demonstration. Was theater games the name of the theater?
It was called the Next Stage.
The Next Stage.
Run by this teacher, Marcia Kimmel, who was originally from Chicago. I think she might have been, like, as a child, was like Viola Spolin's neighbor or whatever. She knew Viola somehow.
And this is still in San Francisco, right?
Yes, yeah. It's like in a church basement.
Good old church basement.
Good old church basement.
Man, bless you for going to that then. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm going to go to this improv thing. Where is it? Let me just walk right up to it's in the church basement. Do I have to? They're like, yeah, come on in. And you're like,
got in.
Okay.
This is either, okay.
Is this where's the exit? Okay, great.
It's like it's the, the AA meeting. Nope, I don't think this is improv. I'll go,
Yep. Man, you'd be yes-anding in such a different way at an AA meeting. You're like, oh, goodness. Yes, that also I did that. Yeah. Oh, boy. Man, so you've made it out of the church basement. You were like, this wasn't as bad as I thought it might be. And then did you, like, sign up for a class with Next Stage and take, like, a bunch of classes with them? How involved did you get?
I did that for a while. And, I was kind of bouncing between that and doing like the occasional, stand up. And then I guess it was like I left it for improv for a while. And I guess in like my mid 40s, I was looking for, to do it again and looking for something, beyond just, beyond next stage. So,
How many years had you been away from it?
maybe about 5 years.
Right on. Right on.
So
Were you doing something else at the time, or was it just like life got in the way and you were like,
it's
I can't take this
kind of like
class?
life got in the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Awesome that you got back on the horse, you know? I mean, like a
yeah,
lot of people, life kicks them off and then they're like doing other stuff and they're like, oh, I don't have time to do this kind of stuff. Or worse, which I find terrible in adults, is when they say things to me like, oh, adults don't do that. And you're like, oh, that's so sad for you. What do you do? Just drink? Oh, that's not great. Like,
yeah.
you've got to
It's
have
like
a thing. Even
right,
if it's
right.
bowling or whatever, like,
Yeah,
playing shuffleboard, do it. Like,
slow pitch softball league
yeah,
or something.
anything. Yeah, something where you can just have an outlet, even just to be like, Lorraine, be a better pitcher, right? You get involved in that and then you forget your whole life. You get back to your
Yeah.
house and you're like, phew, at least my wife's not Lorraine, right? So it helps. It helps to have that distance to do other things. Oh man. Yeah, it's great that you were able to turn it around and like find a way to get back into it. And so you were like, you're searching around. I sort of cut off your story to like find out about the
Yeah.
timeline because sometimes I think that kind of stuff is important. Like I hear your 5 years and I'm like, cool, okay. I'm kind of in a
Yeah.
bit of a lull myself because I have a 3-year-old. So like, how much time are you spending late night at an improv theater with a 3-year-old? I'm going to say none.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm like 5 years. Okay, cool. I got that. I can do 5 years. That seems good. All of
Mhm.
this is, all of the podcast is just me figuring out my life. But, so at this point, how did you find the spot where you started?
I found that there was like an informal Saturday drop-in workshop that was happening out here in San Francisco's Marina District. And it had been ongoing for like 30 plus years. And it was started by Jim Crana, one of the original members of the committee, the sketch comedy troupe from like the late 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
And he'd started it. And when he got too old to continue with it, he handed it over to some of his students to take over. And so I went to that in 2007 and just really clicked with the people there. And that kind of became my new tribe. And so, been pretty regular there ever since. And
What's that crowd called?
it's just called the Saturday Improv Workshop.
Awesome.
So I've been doing that, and that's still, it's kind of a lot of weekend playmates, as well as socializing afterwards. And I just realized it's like, gee, I'd like to, be nice to kind of get into a group and have like performance opportunities. So then I started looking around for different schools and things that offered that.
Oh, right on. Now, at
So
this point, have you mostly just been doing, like, you took the classes at the next stage,
mhm.
but then the Saturday drop-in workshop, that's just sort of like ad hoc, not like a syllabus necessarily. Is
Yeah.
this next spot where you found classes, were you looking for more structure?
Yes, yeah.
Right on.
Learning to kind of be, in a group, and took some classes in the East Bay for some months, and you would do, your typical kind of graduation performances of short form games. And I got guess I got kind of tired of that or preoccupied with other things, and tried doing solo performance workshops for a while.
Whoa.
That was fun. I think did maybe 2 or 3 shows of it, 2 or 3 20-minute shows in that world.
You made solo shows?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Like such a big jump from stand up to improv to solo. Like, and I know that it sounds like that would make sense to do that, but I don't know, just what you've told me makes me feel like maybe solo would make you uncomfortable. Like,
Yeah,
how did that go?
it went pretty well. There were things I liked about it because it was kind of like you could I could work some, stand up and improv elements into it, but at the same time, it's kind of the conceit where it's like, okay, the audience is gonna be, will be patient while you build the story.
Yeah, totally. So was it like storytelling workshops, or were they like
Ye-
literally trying to build you towards doing like, talking to the audience, but like telling a story? I mean, I know that storytelling is
Yeah,
kind of the same, but
yeah, it was
it's different.
trying to get you to, build you towards, you're going to be up there, telling your story, talking to the audience, telling your story about what happened, and you can act out different parts if you want or not.
Right. Yeah, definitely, I guess, is the combination of like stand up and improv for sure. Did you do any like solo shows like that you were into?
Uh, I mean, just a few that I did connected with. You take I guess it was like maybe a 10 or 11 week class, and at the end, you have the performance. So I did that a couple times, and I think I signed up for the theater was having like a Monday night series where different people would perform, and I think I signed up for one Monday night and performed one of my pieces then.
Man, so you're like really creating these opportunities for yourself. I mean, like you're taking this workshop where you're like gonna have a show at the end, which is a solid way to have a workshop. But like you're the go-getter in this scenario, right? Like you're trying to find something. Was there like a story you were trying to tell? Was there like something you were trying to work towards?
Uh, I guess was still just trying to find, in some ways, a community of peers and all who had, you know, some creative interest.
You said that
Like,
you had found good friends at the Saturday improv workshop. Were you
right.
still looking for other collaborators, or was
I,
that like your
I,
main pals?
yeah, I was.
So what happened next?
Good. Let's see. Kind of got into, the travel bug kind of bit me. So, then a lot of my focus was, okay, I'm preparing for this trip to over here. And
Did you like take improv workshops all around, or did you just
I
travel?
did not, that it
Really?
never occurred to me. It was like towards the end of my, one of my last trips was about 4 years ago. I went to Iceland and
Ooh.
was, tried to find an drop-in improv workshop in Reykjavik, and there was one listed that was happening on some, college campus, some evening, and of course, the night I went, it was raining, and this campus was nearly impossible to navigate. And so, by the time I found the room where it was supposed to be happening, there was nobody there. So,
Oh man.
oh well.
Where else did you travel?
Let's see. Went to a lot of places during those years. Went to like China, Peru, Russia, Antarctica, and Australia.
Whoa. What a
Yeah.
list. Was that like your like list where you were like, okay, I want to see
Okay.
these places?
Yeah, yeah.
Whoa, good for you
There were
for
some
seeing them
things that
all.
I'd wanted to do. Like I wanted to go. I'd always wanted to do like the Trans-Siberian, train
Oh,
ride across Russia.
did you?
I did. And so it was
Whoa, I'm
like,
like nervous to go to Russia. I'd love to. I think it's beautiful and I would
yeah,
love to experience it, but I don't know that I would
yeah.
go.
I don't know if I'd want to go now.
Yeah.
This was, I guess, in like 2009.
A simpler time.
A simpler time, yes.
Oh boy. So that's fun. Listen to this, kids. I'm talking to the audience now. Listen to this, kids. You can use that money you're spending on your improv classes to travel the world. So, take a year off maybe, travel the world, come on back, do a couple improv sets with the Euro set.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can come back and tell your scene in whatever city you're at doing improv. Hey, did you know that this is how they do it in Germany? Okay, I'm
Yes.
pretty good at stuff. I tell you what, if I've learned anything from talking to people across the world, the U.S. and Canada are primarily doing comedy when it comes to improv, but like Europe is largely doing dramatic improv, which I find fascinating.
Oh, wow.
And whenever they're like, I'll talk about improv and they're like, oh, you mean comedy improv? Yeah, I understand. That's what you guys do. And I'm like, oh, what is it? Tell me everything. I want to hear your snootiness.
Ooh.
So yeah, I mean, there's something so great about finding out like, what? That's what happens over there? Let's do it. I've never done dramatic improv. It's only jokes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you, I got connected to you through Leela. How did you get to Leela? When did that connection in the community start?
That started, I think, in like 2015. I think I'd gotten back from a trip to, I think, either to Houston. And I was thinking, God, I really want to be, I think I saw some improv there and, you know, caught some people performing. And it's like, I really want to, belong to something where I can, perform more, regularly, And so I started looking for, classes in this, here in San Francisco that, you know, that have performance opportunities.
Oh, there are a lot of schools where it's just school and not so much stage time.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean like the one of the more established companies here, it's like, oh yeah, they're the name and in improv training, but you really don't ever get much, performance opportunities, outside of your classes, graduation.
Hmm,
So
that's
it's like,
interesting.
and I was looking at Leela and I saw that, ooh, they kind of have like some in-house performing ensembles that people can audition for.
That's extra fancy that they offer stage time as well as classes, especially if in your particular scene that doesn't
Yeah.
happen quite a bit. That's pretty great. That's pretty great.
Hmm.
So, did you start classes to get involved with them, or did you like
Yes. Yeah.
audition?
I did, and I went to a drop-in class, and then shortly thereafter signed up for the level one, and that's where I first encountered Diana. Then had her again in level three, and then auditioned for her, and now have her as a director, and
Oh,
it's
now
been very
Diana's the
been
director of you
very
guys in the
rewarding.
professionals.
Yeah.
Great. How long have you been doing that?
2 years now.
Interesting. So you guys were sort of a group that have been working together for a while. So you got like a vibe, like a flow to your performance?
Somewhat. I mean, we're always, people drop out and we have to recast new people.
Oh yeah. Now, have you guys, I presume that previous to now, you've done a lot of on-stage shows, but like,
Hmm.
have you guys been working to adjust to Zoom improv shows?
We have, and
Yeah, how's that going?
the Zoom shows went pretty well. We had some fun with it. We really had a lot of fun with the with our devised world,
Mm.
where we were playing some set characters, and we kind of did like a three show arc sort of with these
Nice.
characters, and we had some fun like using the virtual backgrounds in Zoom,
Oh,
and
yeah.
props and miniatures and set pieces. So
Oh, that's awesome. That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. So I felt like it's kind of a little bit of felt like I was returning to those like teenage filmmaking roots.
Totally. Totally, because the fun thing about Zoom, and I've been teaching a sketch comedy class to teens using Zoom, and so in that scenario, I am sort of teaching them how to use the little box that they've got. I was like, the one day, maybe like the second or third day, I was like, tell me honestly, guys, are you just staring at yourself like I'm staring at myself? And they're like, yes. And I was like, yeah, I can't stop. I'm so sorry. I want to look at you, but I can't. I'm staring right at my own face. And they're like, they laugh. And I was like, use this opportunity to look at yourself and see what you look like on film, and try to use the space when you're acting the characters. And like, what is the box that you're in mean to your specific world? What is going on? Are you guys in the same room, and this guy's to your right, so you're always going to deal with him as if he's to your right?
Right.
Or, how we did this whole, like, worked on, like, passing objects from person to a
Mm-hmm.
person through Zoom,
Yeah.
and that was fun.
Yeah.
But, like, just, using this new sort of medium in a way that's like, find a way to make it work for you, because a lot of these
Yeah.
kids are like, I want to be actors, and I'm like, great, the number one thing you need to do is stare yourself in the face and see what your face does, because your face is what's going to communicate everything. And so stare at yourself and make sure that your face is expressing and emoting and doing that kind of stuff. It's something so like interesting about having this new style to work with.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. The one thing I found frustrating with Zoom is you can't really determine where your box is going to appear on the screen.
Totally.
It's like I think I sent something to the developers. It's like, do something where you can put put a number before your name, and that assigns you to a specific location on the grid, because then you can start doing, creating specific stage pictures with the
Yeah.
little squares arranged in such a way
Yeah.
that I know that if, I turn to my right, like if we're simulating a car, I need to be at the bottom right of the screen. And if, so I can turn to my passenger who's in the square in the bottom left, and, and there's, three people, up above us who are simulating the back seat passengers, then you can, kind of create that illusion.
I wish that there was even just like maybe an option for the administrator of the meeting to like adjust. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because like I know that when I'm looking at the kids, they're looking at a different version of whatever they're looking at, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so I try to, keep it open, because you're right. Like, there's no real way to establish the stage picture. But it would be nice if, like, I could, like, click on the boxes and move them around so that it's always in this one specific pyramid, and be like, this is what you guys would look like. This is what you're going to do.
Yeah.
That could be interesting. You know what though? I mean, Zoom didn't know it was going to become the like number one user, like the fact that
Right.
everybody in the earth was going to need it. And they've really stepped up. Like as
They
far
have.
as a product that I heard about before COVID, and I was like it's a big in the podcast crowd, especially when you're doing interviews like this. People are like, "You've got to do Zoom." I'm like, "It's fine." Like I was like, I'm good. Like, my phone calls, my Skype, it sounds fine. Like, don't worry about it. And I was very much not into using it. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh yeah, you don't want to use it? Well, I'm going to end the world, so you have to. And I was like, fine, Zoom, I'll do it. But then I was kind of proud of the company and the technology, because it was like, man, literally the earth started using you and there is not a glitch to be had. Like, that's some quality right there. I'm sure they're getting a lot of suggestions from people, because it's like, turns out now this is the new way people perform, which is great. But it's like, I'm sure they had no idea that that was something that people would do until now. It's like the brand new art.
It was just just supposed to be for, oh, well, the people who can't make it to the meeting in person, we'll just, have them check in remotely and be on the same wall, so we can see them all at once.
Yeah, totally. Man, it was just a random business meeting, and now all of a sudden it's improv.
It's like, what's all this aesthetic stuff you're wanting to do with it?
What do you mean backdrop? I don't understand. The person was like, okay, let's get a millennial in here. Nobody has any idea what they're talking about. And they're like, okay. They're like, okay, there are no filters? Get some filters. Jesus, I'm going to put it right in, I mean, I don't use any of the apps that have all the filters and all the different stuff, but I'm always like, that's awesome that someone created that. That there's a person who's like, you know what people are going to dig? Having ears like a dog. And everyone's like, this is amazing. And I was like,
yes.
Like, how do you grasp that? How do you, like, get that idea? And then go like, you know what? I'm making it. Like, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
So wild. So you are having a great time with the professionals right now, learning new stuff, working on things. So during the course of our conversation, there's been a lot of times where you're just definitely like going out and finding opportunities for yourself to perform. You're like making it happen. It's not like there's anyone taking you down a road or making you do this. These are your moves. Like, I want to try this. I want to try that. As advice for people, who are listening to this, like, how do you keep it going? How do you keep yourself going back and finding something new? If maybe the thing that you worked on was like, well, that's not exciting. Or, you go somewhere and you're like, well, I guess I'm not good at that, whatever that's about. How do you keep it moving?
That's a good question. I think a lot of it is, I think it helps to be in a city like San Francisco, where there's a lot of different venues in which to try things, and, everybody's offering, classes. So that's a good way to, to get to try something, and kind of get a taste for that community. And, even if you're just, staying local wherever you are, it's like, I think people, we get seduced into this myth that, oh, you're only legitimate if you're, on SNL and making big money. But, it's like being, just local is, has its value too.
Absolutely. Plus, they're doing Zoom shows too.
Yeah.
Like, come on, guys. Even the playing field, even SNL is doing a Zoom show.
Right. And I think, before the days of, mass media, I think, local entertainers were kind of what you had, for entertainment. And, until like, the vaudeville circuit and, different people came through.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I'm hoping that these days lead people to more of an interest in their local entertainment community in the way that people are getting more interested in their like local politics. I'm hoping that it's more, and also like local restaurants. Like, I feel like these days everyone's like, oh, if you have to buy cookies, buy it at a local bakery. If you have to do this, get it from this local company. You know what I mean? Like, everyone's trying so hard to take care of each other, because it's like, nobody has a job, so anybody who has a job, let's quick hand them some money.
Right. Yeah.
So
and you think,
maybe we'll get connected.
Yeah, and you think about it, like some people like, live entertainment for some people is like, well, it's only, if I, driving a couple hours out of town and paying several $100s to see some big name act in a, in a sports arena.
Yeah.
And I don't get within, 100 feet of them, but, I'm there and I'm, seeing and hearing them perform live, and it's like, okay,
I
I
saw
mean,
a
that's
tiny
nice if
speck
it's
of Jerry
somebody
Seinfeld,
you really want to see, who you've always liked or whatever. But then it's like, but you can't, get up off the couch to just go across town and maybe drop 15 or $20 to, see somebody in your community who's, busting their butt to entertain you, and, and you could, and you can probably, with the local person, you can probably hang out afterwards with them,
Yeah, that could be your best friend. You don't know.
Yeah. You don't get to go to the same bar and, drink, with Celine Dion after her show.
Right? You can't be like, Celine, that was a really great third song you did. Right? No.
Yeah.
No, but you can go after the bar and go, hey, were you the guy who played the unicorn? Great job, man.
Yeah, great. How did you do that? Where'd you come up with that costume? Like, well,
Right?
wow, I'd like, it's like,
Yeah.
It's like,
That's great, man. That's a great
You
idea.
learned that from just taking these classes here? It's like, yeah. It's like, whoa.
Yeah. When I teach my level 1 class, I always say, after your final show, when your friends come, you need to stand out when the audience exits and let people give you compliments. And your answer is not, no, I didn't. Your answer is, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That's your answer. It's like, I don't care what you think about their compliment. You just say, thank you for coming to the show.
Yeah.
Because it's like, connect with some people. Don't let it weigh on your back. Just have a nice time. Find a community. Make some friends.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? Plus, these days, you can check them out from a distance. See which theater you dig by their YouTube channel. And then you can decide later who you're going to see in person, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're like, well, I've watched all the improv theaters. This one seems to be closest to my vibe. There you go.
Right. Yeah. I know with the Leela shows, we post up a Zoom link at the end of the show where like, hey, come, log on to this if you want to, come hang out and chat with us afterwards.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. It's kind of like the virtual bar.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I've seen a couple of the shows, but I've never done the virtual hangout. Oh, cool. Great. Well, hey, Erin, thank you so much for being on the show and sharing your story with me. It's been lovely to chat.
Thank you. I enjoyed it myself as well. A lot.
Thanks for listening to Yes But Why Podcast. Check out all our episodes on yesbutwhypodcast.com or check out all the content on our network, HC Universal, at hcuniversalnetwork.com.